I'm going to answer the question, how many grayscale images are there? I was first asked this question exactly a week ago from now, and by now I mean the now as in when the video first goes live, not the now as in when I'm recording this, or the now as in when you're watching this. Unless, of course, you subscribe to my Stand Up Maths channel and you're one of those many people who watches the videos the second they get the notification, in which case, yes, you are in the correct now. I was asked the question because, as I've mentioned before, I'm approximately 1/3 of a science comedy group called Festival of the Spoken Nerd, link to DVD in description, and we recently got a radio series. We've got a series of 15-minute episodes which are on BBC Radio 4 at 11:15 p.m. That's just how much faith BBC Comedy have in us. But to promote the first one of those, which was on last Wednesday, we were asked to do a kind of Ask Me Anything science themed thing on Twitter. The show is called Domestic Science. The idea is we talk about science in and around your home and things you can try at home. As part of that, we answer semi-serious domestic questions with ridiculous mathematical and scientific answers. And the BBC thought it would be a good idea if we did that on Twitter in the lead up to the episode being broadcast. And as a massive fan of convoluted and non-spontaneous social media interactions, I was in. So here's the question that caught my eye. So a David Morrison asked, how long would it take a supercomputer to generate all possible grayscale images at 256 by 256 pixels? Given this is David's idea of a domestic problem question, I've got a lot of follow-on questions about his home life. Maybe, I don't know what he does for a living, maybe he's overcommitted to delivering said images to a client, or maybe he's just curious. Either way, I thought this was very interesting. I thought, you know what, I'm going to answer this. Sadly, answering David's question came at the cost of me doing pretty much anything else. I got pretty obsessed by it and didn't answer any other questions. It genuinely was quite interesting. Although technically I did still spend the entire time engaged with our online community demographic, whatever. And the reason I'm making the video now is twofold. Partly, it's so interesting. There's some more things I would like to talk about when it comes to the number of grayscale images. Secondly, our second episode is going live tonight. It's Wednesday, the 27th of July, 2016, and I can't join in the online domestic science Q&A this time because I'm currently in an aircraft. That's the currently as in when the video goes live. I've pre-recorded this and I scheduled it to go up when the Q&A is on. So this is my part of interacting with all you social media kids. If you are watching this because you got the notification the moment it went live, you can pause it and you can join in on Twitter with Helen Arney and Steve Mould, or you can just watch the video, and then at 11:15 you can listen to Domestic Science on BBC Radio 4. For people not in the United Kingdom, you don't miss out. The BBC will put it on their radio player for a week, which you can listen to anywhere in the world. I'll put a link below. And the first episode went so well that they released it as a podcast. That's an MP3 that you can have and hold for the rest of your natural life. And so I'll put a link to that below. Anywhere in the world, you can enjoy some domestic science. Right, on to the question. So what is a 256 by 256 image? Well, this video I'm currently in, I'm recording it in approximately 1,922 pixels across and 1,080 pixels up and down. And so if you just took a 256 square pixel section, it's pretty much that. So if we want a grayscale image that size, hang on, ready? There we go. So that is a 256 by 256 grayscale image. It's not very big, but that's what David asked about. So there is my one pseudo, slightly random 256 by 256 grayscale image. But how many options are there? How many possible images could I have put there? Well, if we zoom in on that image, you can see all the individual pixels are slightly different shades of grey, and there are 256 possible shades of grey in an image. I believe there was a documentary that came out recently, I haven't seen it myself, which indicated there were a different number of shades of grey. No, there are 256 because it's stored as an 8-digit binary number, and 256 are the number of options you have for an 8-digit binary number. The fact that the sides of 256 is a coincidence. David just picked the same number, but it is very popular amongst computer people. If instead David had picked a 2x2 grayscale image, which you can see here greatly zoomed and enhanced, the math is a lot more straightforward. Each one of those 4 pixels can be any of 256 colors. If you multiply them all together, you can see there are just over 4 billion possible 2x2 grayscale images. For a 256 image, there are a lot more. How many pixels are there in one of these? Well, if you multiply 256 by 256, you will see there are 65,536 pixels. What a lovely number. That is actually one of my all-time favorite numbers. It's a power of 2. It's 2 to the 16, and that's because 256 is 2 to the 8, and so 2 to the 8 times 2 to the 8 gives you 2 to the 16. Famously, old versions of Excel used to stop after 65,536 rows. They only had 2 to the 16 rows. Below that, it would just, crash or stop. And one of the other lovely things about it, as a power of 2, none of its digits in base 10 are themselves a power of 2. There are no 1s, 2s, 4s, or 8s in 65,536. Go on, find another power of 2 that doesn't have a power of 2 digit within it. I dare you. So now to work out the total number of possible images, we just have to multiply 256 times 256 times, so on, 65,536 times, once for each pixel. And if you do that, you get a total number of options of 2 to the power of 524,288. That is a lot of images. It is approximately 2.6 times 10 to the 157,826. That is what we call in maths a mind-bogglingly big number. But David didn't just want to know the number. Oh no, he wanted to know how long would it take a supercomputer to generate all that many grayscale images. Now this is where it starts to get a bit silly. At the time I gave an adequate answer on Twitter, but I feel like I can do a lot better. I can try and make that a slightly accessible number. Spoiler, I'm not going to make it a slightly accessible number. Okay, so here's what I said. We'll assume our supercomputer runs incredibly fast. Let's say it's running a kind of femtohertz rate. That means it's doing 10 to the 15 things a second. So we'll say it's flicking through 10 to the 15 of these images every second. And the universe is currently, well, it's 13.8 billion years old, which is approximately 10 to the 17. I'm just going to call it 10 to the 17 seconds. It's 4 times that, but frankly, that's not going to matter in a moment. So let's say you have your supercomputer, it's running at a femtohertz. You set it going from the beginning of the universe. It runs all the way up to now, 10 to the 17 seconds. It will have gone through approximately none of them. No, seriously, that's not even a registerable fraction of the possible number of images. So let's say it's done all of that and you go, well, I'm gonna set it going again. We'll rewind, beginning of the universe, run it a second time through another 13.8 billion years. But to keep track, I'm gonna take one atom from this universe, just one single atom, and I'm gonna put it over there in a pile. I'm gonna make a pile next to our universe. So I have the observable universe here. I put a single atom in a new universe over there, and so then I run the computer again from the beginning of the universe 13.8 billion years later. Now, still not done. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll put a second atom, just a second atom over there in my new universe to keep track. there are approximately, as an upper bound, 10 to the 82 atoms in our observable universe. So you keep running your supercomputer over and over again from the beginning of the universe to now. Every single time you put one atom in a new universe, by the time you have another entire universe, and I'm aware that is not a universe, that is a galaxy, which is a trivial fraction of the universe. Yes, in fact, that's M81. Quite a nice one. Thank you, NASA. But once you've been running this for long enough to get what is representing another entire universe, you're still not done. So you go, oh, I'll tell you what, well, I'll clear that universe and I will put one atom, one more universe up. So there's a universe I'm in, there's a universe that I've just wiped clean, and I'll put one atom in the next one up. And then I'll carry on refilling the first one once that gets full again, because I've run that many times through our universe. I'll clear it again and put one atom in the next one, and I'll keep doing that. And eventually I will have refilled the first universe I'm making 10 to the 82 times. I'll have a whole nother second one. I go, oh, what am I going to do with that? Oh, I know, I'll reset that one and I'll put one atom, another universe down. I'll have three that I'm working on, and I'll keep refilling this one. Whenever it resets, one atom in the next one. Whenever that resets, one atom in the next one. And once you get that third universe, you're still nowhere near it. You would have to keep doing this for a chain of universes 1,924 long, and by then you wouldn't be finished. In fact, you'd only be finished 1,924.3 universes later. That is a mind-boggling amount of time. But that got me thinking, if that's how many 256 by 256 images there are, what if it was color? What if it was bigger? What if there were several of them? What if they were frames of a video? How many possible YouTube videos are there? And we could work that out because we know the maximum dimensions of what you can get on YouTube. You can go up to 4K. We know the color depth you can have on YouTube. Okay, the length of videos gets interesting, but actually you don't have to bother working that out because I double checked and there's actually a maximum file size for what you can upload to YouTube. It's 128 gigabytes. And so that's it. That's an upper bound for the number of possible YouTube videos, 128 gigabytes. And if you work out what that number is, it's truly insane. It's just ridiculous, right? If you set a supercomputer doing one of those YouTube videos every femtosecond running from the dawn of the universe until now, and you set that looping, and every single time it loops you put one atom in the next universe, whenever that resets the next universe, when that resets the next universe, you would have to go down 29,368,779.7 universes. That's just, I mean 1,924. I mean, that's a number we can get our head around. But now 29 million, you can't get an intuitive grasp of a number that big. And look, and I'm writing it in base universe. It's a number too big to understand, even in base universe. But it is finite, which is something I find extremely pleasing. As an example, if you do download the MP3 of the podcast of our first domestic science program, there is a link in the description, and actually I would kind of hugely appreciate that. It's completely free. You can download it, listen to it. It's 15 minutes. You don't have to, but if you do download it, it does go towards ratings. And I mean, entirely selfishly, well, you know what, actually not selfishly, if you would like to see more science comedy programming, and not just me, not just Festival of the Spoken Nerd, across the board, if the BBC sees that doing science comedy gets ratings, they will do more of it. And if they see there's a big international demand, they will put more of our episodes and other similar episodes out as podcasts. So I would hugely appreciate it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it if you would download our podcast from the top link in the description. But where I was going with this is if you download it, it's 13.9 megabytes. That is 110,863,792 ones and zeros. Now that is a very, very big number, but it's a finite number. It's one of a finite number of finite numbers that our podcast could have been. And it's a number that's existed since before the universe. Forget analogies within the age of the universe, even before the universe, depending on your personal view of the philosophy of mathematics. That number, which corresponds to the binary expansion of the file for our podcast, has always existed. And so we didn't so much creatively make our science and maths comedy show as we just picked a pre-existing number off the number line, which does make the whole thing sound a lot less creative, which I am all for. So David Morrison, I hope that's answered your question, and if you have promised someone you would make all of those images on a supercomputer, well, at least you can tell them you'll have it done within 2,000 powers of universes. And for everyone else, if you have a question, we'll be doing more of these. There are 4 episodes in the series, so you can jump on Twitter and join in. I believe the hashtag is AskTheNerds or something suitably organic like that. And while I am asking nicely for things, you will see my traditional subscribe to my channel. Now, I know, because I get the stats for people who watch my videos, that 73.4% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed to my channel. I mean, well done, the other 26.6% of you, you're my people. That other 73.4%, who are those guys, honestly? So if you would like notifications, I mean, there's literally it's not literally no effort, it's not the least you could do, it is a non-zero amount of effort to subscribe, but if you do, I mean, that does genuinely make a big difference to me, and I'd hugely appreciate it if you could subscribe as well as download the podcast. I'm very demanding today, and all that means is down the road you will get notifications when my new videos go up. So you also can watch them and enjoy the correct definition of now, and that is indeed all for now.